Hey everybody, Elaine Williams here. I am creator and founder of Captivate the Crowd speaker training program, and oh my gosh, there's so much I want to tell you today. First of all, so thanks for joining, and I just, I have a question. How do you feel when someone asks if you tell stories? Do you have do you have anxiety? Do you worry? Do you love telling stories, but there's a part of you that's like, oh God? Here's the thing. A lot of my students say, I love stories, but I always feel like I'm not doing it right. A lot of people tell me that. And so I wanted to address that today because I love stories. I totally, I have goosebumps. To me, stories are the most magical thing, and especially in our busy world, to me, if you can captivate somebody with an amazing story that can change their mood, change their outlook, change their day, their hour, their day, their week, or their life. Stories are so powerful. And so the first thing I would want to tell you is, relax. It's okay. Not everybody rolls out of bed and is a master storyteller, just like not everybody rolls out of bed and is an amazing writer. Steven Pressfield, he is one of my heroes, and Steven Pressfield, he wrote the script for Bagger Vance, and he was an advertising guy for a long time, and then he told his wife he wanted to go write novels, and I think he literally lived in a van down by the river, and so he struggled, and he wrote some really kind of bad novels before he hit it big. And anyway, I love his stuff. He has a book called The War of Art, and all of my students are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And this is another book I have that I just realized I haven't even read yet, so I'm like, oh, cool. I just love his work, but you have to, the point is, it's okay. Wherever you are, it's okay. Take a breath, and you can work on it. You can grow. You can develop your craft. And another thing I really love to encourage people to do is start watching trailers. And I talk about Pixar because they are very good at what they do. So it's great to go watch Disney trailers and just start thinking, put your consumer hat on, and then, then you can do another, oh, hey, hi, Maria, thanks for stopping by. Then you can put it on as a storyteller. Why is this compelling? So let's talk about Finding Nemo for a second, right? It's been a while since I've seen it, but, you're immersed in this world, and you see this little fish family, this clownfish family, and within a few seconds, they establish the setting, they establish the characters, and then something happens, whoosh, and Nemo is whisked away. All this stuff happens. Now, if you didn't care about this little fish family, you would be like, but the audience was gasping. So that is powerful. That is powerful. And to me, that is an example of really awesome storytelling. So I invite you to start looking when you're watching TV, when you're watching commercials. Think of it as crafting your story. Put that cap on, if you will. And wow, we got dropped into that Finding Nemo story. We saw this cute little clownfish family. So we developed some affection for them, and then whoosh, something happened. It happens fast. Now that's power, right? So one of the first rules is make me care, right? The audience is always going, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? So whenever you're crafting your stories, whether they're about yourself, your business, your clients, your services, your life, obviously you want to be sharing something that has meaning to you and that is connected to you. One time, one of my mentors used this story about these two salesmen and mindset, and I loved this story, and I related to that story, and I thought, I'm just going to use that story. I was working on a TV show, a reality TV show about taking restaurants from mom and pop to franchises, and so I was motivating the staff about mindset and customer service. Anyway, this story, it fell totally flat because it wasn't my story. So learn from my mistakes. This is years and years ago. And I I quickly rallied and improv and threw in another story because I have 30 plus years of performing and stand-up comedy and stuff. But you always want to use a story that is from your life or that you are emotionally connected with in some way, because it does not work. It will feel off. Even if the audience isn't sure what's going on, they'll smell it, they'll sense it. So that's a $1 million gold nugget for you right there. Learn, use your own stories. But so you want to make people care. And so, whenever you're telling a story or crafting your speech, you always want to have kind of two hats on. Like, why are you telling this story? What is the point? Can the audience hear something for themselves in that story? Because ideally, you want to be telling such awesome, amazing stories that people are connected and they're hearing themselves in part of the story. That's always the goal. And that's how we learn. I love stories because it's been around. It's like is the first sound, and we were telling stories before we knew like language, like reading and writing. And in the Middle Ages, when most people didn't know how to read or write, that's how we passed down traditions and myths and wisdom. And unfortunately, a lot of people still don't read and write. So, stories are just so powerful. I had the privilege of being at the Positivity Summit with Cornell Thomas a couple weeks ago, and I spoke before this Olympian athlete spoke, Jillian, about, she shared her story of her journey through to the Olympics and being this world-class, amazing soccer player goalie. And then she shared about losing her sister to domestic violence, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And she even admits, like, I really don't like talking in public, but she's so committed to sharing that story and raising awareness, because it does affect 1 out of 4 females, and it affects men too. So anyway, like, even if a story isn't perfectly executed, if the intention behind it and the energy is to share with you, to make a difference, to have an impact, to hopefully you leave having gotten something for yourself, having possibly a new trajectory for your life, like, that's the goal. So, it's kind of like, I want you to work on your stories, and I want you to craft them and work on the editing and any, you always want to write them out and then go back and edit them, and anything that's extra you want to edit out. So it's a process. But on the other hand, I don't want you to lose like the why and the reason you're telling the story. That is so important too. So it's kind of like, I used to sing a lot, and so you'd have these scales and warming up, and then you work on all this technical stuff, and then at a certain point you let it go, and you're supposed to like be moved by the spirit of the song. So it's kind of like, here's all this technical stuff, and then after you've worked on it, let it go, which is like, what? But that is the art of great speaking, of great performing, of singing, of dancing, of music, like jazz players. So just a quick, I know I could go on and on. I just love stories. And then another thing is, I'm a huge, huge fan. I am old school, but I like to write. There is something about the emotional connection of the pen to paper there's more emotion, and I think that you can be more creative. I mean, some people still love to write on the laptops, that's fine, but I still love to write my creative ideas if I've got a lot of energy coming out. There's something about getting your pen to paper. And so I always ask that all of my students walk around with little notebooks and a pen. And even if I'm at like the opera or some kind of event, I always have a pen and paper. It's part of being a stand-up comic, but it's just a creative person, because you never know when you're going to get that thought, that idea, that download, that you're going to see something that sparks something and you're like, I better write that down. That's golden, So I'm a big fan of handwriting. So, and then here's another thing is, if you are a business owner who wants to be a more effective leader for your team, or if you're in corporate and you want to go up the ladder, one of the most effective ways in leading teams and meetings is to tell stories. You know, I was a corporate trainer for restaurants forever. I helped open the Hard Rock cafes and Chewy's. I helped create training programs. And, you know, you can tell a group of people, don't do this, or you should do this or this, best practices. And especially if you're giving them a whole bunch of information, good luck, right? But when you can tell them a story about why, like here's the philosophy, why, like Danny Meyer talks about, we take care of the internal guests, the employees, so well that they in turn naturally take care of the external guests, the customers, because they feel so taken care of and gotten and understood and supported. And that is the key to a great organization, whether you're in the restaurant business or anything. But telling stories will help grok that in for people. If you're just telling them, just like a bunch of dates. Remember history when you had that teacher that was like in 1832 and you're like, Pew. But when they can tell a good story about it, you remember the date. When there is something connected with it, that's how we learn. It's how we anchor things in. So I don't want to give you too much because I just get so excited. But if you are working on your stories, I'd love to hear your comments below, what you think, what your weakness is. If you want to share a story with me, sometimes people send in videos of them telling stories, and I love that. It's so fun. So a quick recap, if you're just tuning in, Elaine Williams, I help people captivate the crowd on camera and stage. And I have some really cool trainings coming up, so stay tuned. But we're talking about stories today and the elements of stories and how you want to make people care. And you want to start studying stories and the crafting of it. You want to start watching Pixar and thinking about Finding Nemo or something else where you were like dropped in, you created where you really cared about the characters, and then poof, something happens. Like that is powerful. And then we also talked about how you want to get it out. I recommend writing, and then you want to get your story out and craft it, and then you can go back and edit it, but get it out first. Get it out first. And you always want to think who you're writing for. It's not about you, it's about the audience, and it's about what you can contribute to them, and can they hear you and the story you are telling, whether it's about yourself, your business, your service, your clients, something like that. So you always want to be thinking, what's in it for me, as far as that's the audience going. So, and you want to make people care. And then one more quick thought. You know, Breaking Bad was this huge runaway thing, right? And I came to it late because part of my story is I had 3 addictions, and I was worried that I would get triggered by wanting to do crystal meth. But it was actually like the best PSA ever. Every kid should see a couple of those episodes of like, this is drugs, and this is how it will mess up all of your life and everything you love. Like I thought it was so well done. But the whole idea is that the guy was doing it for a reason, because he had cancer and he was dying. And so you had empathy for him. If it was just like some guy who was going to try to make a quick buck and sell drugs because then you wouldn't care. But you saw like his humanity, and you saw the fear and the panic of what it was like leaving his family with few resources and his new baby girl that was coming. And so we cared. And so that is like such an important lesson, so that's just some basics on storytelling. And wherever you are, it's okay. Like, relax and know that you can craft them. You can become a better story writer and a storyteller. And it just takes a little bit of work and a little bit of commitment. But it is so much fun, and it's so rewarding, because when you can tell a heartfelt story, and when you can really have an impact on somebody, you can change their hour, their day, their week, or their life. Thanks so much for watching. I'm so excited that you stopped by, and I would love to hear your comments below. And please share this if you know of anybody who wants to work on their story crafting, their storytelling, or their speaking. I've got a lot more cool stuff coming up, so stay tuned. Bye for now, and I hope to see you on stage or camera soon. Thanks so much. Bye.